Everybody, welcome to Hit Rewind. We're doing another perfect concert playlist. This episode is part 2 of our Queen and Bowie episode. This time we're moving into the 80s, which, frankly, Ron, I don't know what I was thinking the first couple times of that list. We had to split it up because it was too torturous. All right, so I believe I went first last time, so it's your turn.
My turn. All right, for Park Gigs, we'll start with David Bowie. Let's Dance from 1983. I like this song. Who doesn't like this song? But I found an interesting tidbit on this. Hey, is that drinking game we did before? Take a drink, guys.
Tidbit.
Interesting tidbit. Anyway, Stevie Ray Vaughan played on this song.
No way.
Yes. So the guitar you hear, now that I know it, I can hear it because he's got a very distinctive sound. Although that relationship soured real quickly because apparently he wasn't very happy with the music video when it came out because it shows Bowie playing or mimicking playing. Anyway,
yeah, I can see that.
I don't know if there was credit given to Stevie Ray, and he's, anyway. Anyway, moving on to number 2, Scary Monster and Super Creeps from 81. Cat People. Song's good, movie not so much.
No, that movie's terrible.
Terrible. Blue Jean, it's a little odd song, but yeah, from our last episode, there's a lot of Bowie's music out there just a little off.
Yeah.
A little bit. But occasionally one sneaks through that I really, really like, and it just hits, and Blue Jean was one of those. Modern Love, Under Pressure, which is technically also a Queen song. I cannot not sing Ice Ice Baby every time I hear the song.
I can still sing like almost all the lyrics. It's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing that I still find myself listening to that. I don't have a cassette player anymore, so I guess that's a good thing. Otherwise, I would still be throwing that in there. And embarrassing the crap out of my kids. Although there's some music on that album I probably wouldn't want them hearing anyway. But okay, so for my last 3 songs, I'm kind of cheating here. Because the 80s brought with it the Labyrinth soundtrack. And I don't know, just Bowie's vocals complement really well with Trevor Jones' soundtrack. And the 3 songs I liked on there, he had 4, I think, but 3 of them were Magic Dance, Within You, and Underground. And if you guys knew me personally, you'd know I'm a kind of a theater guy. I love soundtrack music, so if this isn't your normal ilk, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you were listening to the wrong person. This is the person here with a theater degree, so.
That's right. There you go. And that would be my top 10.
All right, so and I was going through this, and I can see why it was heavier in the 70s for Bowie than it was in the 80s, because he decided to start that band, Tin Machine, in 87. And I feel like he never really recovered from that. The band I don't know. I guess if they're a normal everyday band, I wouldn't even notice it, but it's Bowie, and it just feels like he didn't know what to do with the band. I don't know if he was bored by himself or what, but it just, for me, it killed the momentum, and he never recovered. So most of this is real early 80s. So and our list, I think, is almost the exact same, just different order. I wanted to start off with Putting Out Fires with Gasoline, the Cat People song. I love the way, I just feel like that would be a really great way to like open up the stage, like slow, moody lighting, and then just boom.
Yes.
Then Let's Dance, which I sing to my dog all the time when I want to take her to the bathroom. Zoe. Oh, I even named my dog Zoe, by the way, Zoe Bowie. And I was wearing my Bowie shirt yesterday when I went to the gym. But I always say, Zoe, you want to go to the bathroom? And then I'll put on my shoes and let's dance. Put on your red shoes and dance the blues. And then she'll just stare at me and like, just open the door already, idiot. And I'm like, all right.
Here we go again.
3, China Girl. 4, Modern Love. 5, Blue Jean is interesting because it's more guttural, like visceral than most of his songs. He really just like all of a sudden like bursts with rage.
Yeah.
I'm Afraid of Americans, the one that he did with Trent Reznor in the 90s. Like I think it's his only hit in the 90s.
I don't think I know that one.
Yeah, that's the one where he started going into like the techno sound, and that slowly started his comeback. But he never really had another like big album again. But Ashes to Ashes is the '80s sequel to Ground Control. I really like that one. That one's a good midpoint. And then Magic Dance from Labyrinth. I don't know how you're going to really do it the same way because he can't have like 13 puppets on the... Well, screw it. It's a fantasy concert. We have the Muppets show up.
That's right. Why not? He's got the money.
I said that knowing full and well that 9 and 10 are collaborations. And that, so Dancing in the Street, so instead of obviously Mick Jagger, it's going to be Freddie Mercury. And then number 10 is Under Pressure, and that just goes right into the Queen part. I just feel like, the 80s is a lot of kind of like random all over the place for him instead of that really... I had to leave songs behind, a lot of songs behind in the 70s because he had so much unbelievable content.
See, I was kind of the other way around because you know me, I'm always... We'll take movies, for example. When we go to the movies and we look at this, I don't listen to the critics. I make my own decision. I go in, I watch the movie regardless of whether people say, don't go, don't go, don't go.
Yeah.
And I can always find something cool about, well, not always. That's
there's been a couple movies that you and I have gone to and been like, oh, that trailer was good. This is not.
Yeah, it's like, they were right on this one. But the same goes with here. Like a lot of people say when Bowie got into the 80s, everything kind of fell away. And I read something when I was doing this research that when Lennon was shot, that he kind of became a recluse after that.
I didn't know that.
He didn't want to do a whole lot of live stuff anymore, and I don't know creatively if that had anything to do with that or not, but I found that it was easier for me to find some music that I liked by him in the 80s, and I don't know if maybe it's because I'm an 80s nut, but to me in the 70s most of it was a little weird, but it's all in your own taste too. So a lot of there's some gems in there, obviously. But,
well, I feel that way with the Queen. Whenever people talk about Queen, it usually dies around 1980, 81 or whatever. But I'm like, no, that's when they really get into the era that I love. 80s is, I think, the better era of Queen. But that's just me. All right, so it's your turn.
If you listen to Queen in the 70s, they're very much more of a visceral rock group in a lot of the songs. Some of it was really where they started spreading their wings a little bit into the more experimental sounding, more epic sounding, I guess is a better word.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they were really more of an actual rock sound.
Yeah, in the 70s, they sound like a carnival. You never know what you're going to get. It's going to be wild and weird.
Yes.
But the 80s, it seems like they really... I mean, there is one album. I think I can't remember the name of it. It's the one before It's a Kind of Magic. Or maybe it was like 82 or whatever. There's like no hits off of that one. And I listened to it, and it's like they're completely lost after they did the Flash Gordon soundtrack. But then they just find themselves like right back again. And, Radio Gaga was a huge hit. Even though I did not add that to my list. That's a weird song. It's so strange that was... That's Baby Talk. Baby Talk!
Well, I find myself singing it every time it's
I know it's still a catchy song, but it's just so strange that we were like Radio Goo, Radio Gaga. Yeah, sure.
Goo Gaga. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
All right.
So that leads into my list, and again, just like the 70s, honestly, I think the 80s makes it even worse for me. Why do I have to pick just 10? But I start mine off with Flash theme from Flash. I got to. There's some other great tracks in there. Football Fight's fun, Volton's theme, the Battle theme, just to name a few. But I have a lot of good memories from the soundtrack with you guys, especially Dave. If memory serves me correctly, he absolutely loved that movie. Anyway, sorry guys.
No, it's
number 2 would be...
What I was going to say real quick though is I believe that's the first CD that we ever special ordered from. Was it On Cue? Was that the place that we had?
Yeah. Yes, On Cue.
Yeah, because we were in there when they first opened, and Dave was looking around for a CD. He was looking for that soundtrack, whatever, because we had just watched the movie. I think, well, at least for me, I watched it for the very first time. And they're like, no, we don't have it in store, but this book here, this giant beast of a book you can go through and we can order it for you. And we're like, what?
For those of you of the modern era, that's what we used to do. We didn't have select MP3s to order online.
Yeah, or Amazon to order any CDs from. Yeah.
We had to sign up for trials at BMG and over again.
Yeah.
That's how we got our music. My name is Ron Millen Ham now.
You are a ham. Is it weird that he didn't like Star Wars, but he loved Flash Gordon? It seems like they're so in line with each other.
Well, that's what part of what made Dave unique, though, you know?
No, not Dave. Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury. Oh,
Yeah.
You didn't like Star Wars?
Remember he says that. It's in the lyrics. And I didn't like Star Wars.
Oh,
Bicycle.
you're right.
Bicycle.
But Dave did like Star Wars.
Yes, he did. Everybody loves Star Wars. Who are we kidding?
He absolutely loves Star Wars. Anyway.
Yeah.
Where was I?
I don't know. You're on number 2 or whatever it was.
Number 2 from Hot Space 1982, Dancer. Body Language will be the next one. Tear It Up off the Works. I've got a few off of that one. Hammer to Fall is an absolute favorite for mine.
Yeah.
Freddie just rips up everything he sings. That voice just makes you want to get up and.
Best voice? Is it the best voice in music?
It's music. I mean, obviously, and Freddie gets the energy going. You know, he works with it. I mean, it's all a whole, obviously. But I go crazy also off the words. Here's what we. Yeah, I'm sure you had the same boat with me on this one. Number 7. A Kind of Magic LP, whole darn album. Enough said.
Yeah.
Wait, you think that's cheating?
No, just it'll be compressed. It'll be what do you call it when they do a medley? It'll be a medley of all the songs.
Medley. Okay, so if I had to make a medley, I don't know. If I had to pick a few off of that one, then I won't cheat. I would say Who Wants to Live Forever, Don't Lose Your Head, and Princes of the Universe off this one are my absolute faves. That line, you remember when I used to be big into Man of War?
Yes.
There's a line in there, I have inside me blood of kings, and then the way he delivers that line, I think of Man of War.
Yeah.
It's like,
I liked Man of War's guitar work, but I don't like falsetto singing very much. Actually, hardly at all. And Man of War always like one of those. Oh, okay. Do you remember we were working on the front yard the first time you played that for me? And I was like, "What on earth is this?"
For those of you who don't know Man of War, look it up. It's very cheesy.
Sword sorcery. Yeah.
But it's supposed to be like storytelling and that sort of music.
Yeah, it works with Iron Maiden. And so
Well,
it worked with Iron Maiden, so I can see why other bands copied it.
right. Let's see. So, without cheating, I'll go on to number 8, The Miracle. Love that song. This whole album, The Miracle, is actually really good.
Yeah.
That song in particular. I Want It All. Who doesn't want to sing that one? Get up and yell at the top of their lungs when it comes on. And I have to say, when we talk about weird songs that are kind of off there a little bit, Queen has one called The Invisible Man, and of course, you got to listen to the extended version because the more witness, the better. And that would be my number 10 rounding off the list.
Yeah, The Invisible Man is kind of forgotten in the singles that they released towards the end. It is unusual. It has a whole different sound than what they usually do, but I like it. I find myself singing it sometimes.
Yeah.
Because at work, I work at one of those welcome booths kind of things, and people, I will say hi to them, and they'll walk right past me, and I will sing, I'm the Invisible Man. Beep! All right. All right. I have to prepare myself for this one. All right. Starting off with One Vision. And just like putting out fires with gasoline, it's one of those like slow builds and then boom. I think that's a great way to open a concert. Princes of the Universe. It's a Kind of Magic. Number 4 is Who Wants to Live Forever. Look, I could have done the whole album. So that was the one that you and I listened to the most because that's the only one that you owned that wasn't a greatest hits collection because that's what we had in our house was a greatest hits collection.
That was the Highlander soundtrack, of course.
Basically, yeah. And then I move off from that. Okay, so I'm not stuck on it. Number 5 is Breakthrough. Number 6, I Want It All. Number 7, Headlong, which I think I Want It All and Headlong go really well together because they're just like really fast, clean, driving songs. There's no like goofing off or anything like that.
There's a lot of Queen songs that would get you in trouble on the highway.
I'm so flabbergasted looking at this list right now, and all of these are hits, and they just didn't connect in America. All of them. I don't think any of these really broke into the top 40 in America. I don't get it.
I never understood that.
Yeah, this is wild. And this is after they had that big comeback in '84 at Live Aid with Radio Gaga, and everybody was crazy for them. They closed the show. You would think, but no. But they're just. You look at the charts on Wikipedia of the singles and how they did. At some point, they just dropped the USA off of there, and then they bring in like Switzerland or something because that's the only other place they were charting. And I was like, what the? Huh? Number 8 is Play the Game. After those 2 hard driving songs, I'm going to bring it down a little bit. And then right into Another One Bites the Dust. Look, I know it's cliche, and I know it was their biggest hit of the 80s, but I love that driving bass. And do you remember what wrestler always came out to this song? Wait,
I did not watch wrestling as much as you guys did.
Yeah, it was. Well, I only watched it really when I was a kid. Was Junkyard Dog? Dun dun dun, and like, oh yeah. You're right. Wrestling. Well, wrestling was always on in the dorm room that Dave and Brian lived in, so it just seemed like it was constantly on while we were just hanging out. I never really cared what was going on.
I didn't really watch the TV at that point.
I don't have patience for those matches. I don't understand why they go on for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Even Rocky, well choreographed with a storyline, don't go 20 minutes. Why? No. And then number 10, I had put this earlier, but I realized this is the absolute perfect song to end this on, because if this is fantasy, and once this fantasy's over with, we have to go back to a world with no Freddie Mercury, which is heartbreaking. But his legend will always live on, and The Show Must Go On is the way to end the show. I almost got teary there. I almost got kind of choked up.
Yeah, Queen sound. The good thing, was going back to, was it the music or was it Freddie, right? Because definitely Queen had a very unique sound, and definitely a large driving factor of the band itself, because that's the only reason they could have carried on after going away. But again, like you said, it's a special place in our hearts.
Yeah, it does tell you something that almost like every single band who loses a singer or a guitarist, whatever, they always get replaced and the band continues on. Yes, technically Queen continued on, but did they have any new albums? I don't think they did. I don't think they created anything new. They just went into the vaults and released 2 albums of the stuff that had never been finished.
Yeah. A through Z of Queen. Yeah, some of these albums I'm looking at here, I don't remember them, other than the Queen Greatest Hits from '91. Honestly, when I first got into Queen, that was the album I had. It wasn't until my stepfather and my mom got married, and I saw his collection of albums, and really started getting into them, and actually seeing more of a deep dive into their stuff.
Yeah. Well, it was... Yeah, we had the Greatest Hits collection. What was the '82 album you had a couple tracks off of?
'82?
Yeah, it was 80.
Hot Space would have been out in '82. Okay.
Yeah, so Hot Space is the one that bombed really bad. The next one didn't do that well either, but...
Which I don't understand, because there's a lot of good tracks on that one, but... Anyway.
I think Hot Space might be the weakest during that era for me, but it's still not bad. Yeah. But I remember that's when they started putting out the Greatest Hits collection. That's usually what happens to a band. If they have enough to collect up, it's like, hey, let's remind everybody how awesome we are in case, the last couple didn't do well. And I believe that's how we got the cassette of Queen's Greatest Hits. So it stops at, I believe it's either Flash Gordon or Another One Bites the Dust is the end of that album. And we listened to that all the time, but we never listened to anything else past that, which is weird. But, you had the It's a Kind of Magic album. When did you get that, by the way? Did you get that after Wayne's World?
I actually got a copy of that on, the good old cassette days from Brandon Smith back in the day.
Okay, yeah, because I remember you had a recorded copy, and I think you had, Robin Williams somewhere in there or something.
Probably.
But I remember like when Bohemian Rhapsody, reignited the world's love for Queen and introduced them to a whole new generation. That's all of a sudden like they were on so many soundtracks after that, and they had that big concert as a tribute to him. If it hadn't been, I mean, I don't want to diminish them, but if it hadn't been for Wayne's World being such a massive success and that being so critical to the movie, I don't know where Queen's popularity would be right now. Would they be as legendary, or would they fade away a bit?
Right. I wonder if I have to look at the stats on it. I wonder if Bohemian's one of their largest hits because of that movie.
Yeah, I'm also wondering how their album sales went after that movie. Like, did they just because I remember reading there was an article in Entertainment Weekly, really when they first launched, and they had written an article about how Hollywood Records, which was, you remember Hollywood Pictures, the movie company? They had a record division. It was all owned by Disney at the time. But they had made a huge deal to buy the entire Queen catalog and then also sign them to new albums. And they were like, is Queen even worth this kind of payout or whatever? I think it was like $25-something million, whatever. And they were saying they were done and tired. And at the time, we didn't know that, Freddie was going to die like 6 months later. It's weird that they signed that contract for new albums when everybody in the band knew that he was probably not going to make it. But Freddie also seemed like the kind of guy that was so optimistic that he was going to survive. I mean, think about those last two albums when he was very, very sick. His voice does not sound bad in any way whatsoever. It's like he's giving it everything he's got.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I always thought that was weird because the industry had written Queen off and said that, they weren't worth this kind of money. And then all of a sudden the next year they were like, yes, they are. Ba-boom. Yeah.
Yeah, Queen's one of those bands that are definitely going to be at the pinnacle of history, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we only talk about like 7 or 8 composers, prior to like 1950, but it's because music changed so much after that. And when we look back 200 years from now, you're going to look at the top 10 like rock and roll bands of all time, and Queen is going to be there.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's one thing I can credit Bohemian. I love this song. Don't get me wrong, but if it was anything else, Bohemian Rhapsody opened up a whole new generation to them, and I absolutely love that about it.
Yeah.
As annoying as it is to keep hearing this song and not any of the others, but I will say it did bring along a really cool parody from the Muppets.
Yeah. So that is it for this episode. Our next one is going to be Player's Choice on his side. I'm going to let him choose 3 kind of southern rock bands. Something below the what do you call it? Northern side. We got like ZZ Top, we got Living Scared. We got all sorts of. Yeah, thank you. He's gonna throw a bunch of bands at me, and we'll try to put together 3 that we can make up 20 songs, and that'll be our next episode.
Wish me luck.
We're doing 70s, by the way. I should say that we're still staying in the 70s.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right, that is it, everybody.
When they all came from.
Yeah. Well, I was like, I only said that because of this episode we moved into the 80s, but we're still like on our course. We're still in the 70s for a while.
I'm with you.
Okay. That is it, everybody. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter under Hit Rewind, and that is it. Have a good night. How many times did I say that is it? Sorry, everybody. I'm repetitive. I'm stuck. Oh,
wait, we're staying out of the
Yeah.
80s. Anyway.
Fart noises.
See you
Bye.
guys.